Hi friends, I'm back now. Let's talk about what we had left uh, on the episode 2 of product evolution and Spring Boot. Let me do a recap of what exactly we did before we start this episode. We had said that there is a market and there are stocks in the market. So this is my market. Now we also said that there is a user. Let's call that user as Opal. And then what we do is the user will try to buy a stock. As I said, most of the times what happens is that when we do a product development, it's overwhelming. We start focusing on certain things. We get deep into that, and then sometimes we try to sway away from reality. Okay, there is a trade object also here. So last time we discussed that a user buys or sells a stock through a trading activity. That means in reality, we always have a user. A user always is associated with a stock. Even if a stock is available in the market, it always belongs to a user, maybe another user. Existing user, he may not have a stock or he may have a stock. But when he buys a stock, he has to buy from another user. That's the reality, right? That means if I have a stock record in database, the stock record is not independent. There is a user ID on that. Which means that if I go to a database, I will have a stock detail, I will have a user ID details. This stock has been bought by a user. That's the way it exists in the market. So most important thing is that, let's go back to our discussion, is that we said last time, hey, with Spring Boot, it is very easy to do persistence, ORM, and Hibernate. And I showed you that in the application.properties, we are pointing to a database. We are pointing to a dialect. We are telling Spring Boot, hey, create SQL tables for me. You manage all the SQLs. Just show me the SQLs. Now, only this thing is not enough, right? You know, I know very well that we need to go to the POM file and put the dependencies there. See, in order to make sure that you have a dependency, you need to check certain things. So this is the dependency on driver, which I have put org.postgresql. This driver will be in the class path, and all I got to do is mention the dependency here on the POM file. Spring Boot will pick up this driver for you, and it will call this driver when it is updating the data in the database from the details of your POJO. So we have two POJOs. We have made them entities. Let's go and revisit them once again. So I have user.java. Now here notations I said last time, at entity is a powerful notation, at table is a powerful notation. But there are some more things which are necessary to persist the POJOs in the database, right? A table just cannot have a record as it is. It needs certain criteria to be specified. And people say, yes, you're right. So if a record has always a primary key, and in the last episode, we did not talk about a primary key. How is it possible that I can store a record in a database without a primary key? Yes, that's a good question. So where do I specify my primary key here? This is the place where I am saying that this is my primary key. And how do I make it unique? The way I make this unique is that I specify again this through annotations. At ID is my identification. At generated value, we'll put a unique identity into my table. There we go. This is the way I have completely specified how to persist my object into database. How many annotations, guys? 3 only. I'm sorry, 4. With only 4 annotations. 1, 2, 3, 4. I persisted a whole database. Okay, does it really exist? Let's go and check. After I run this, I need to expect that there has to be a user table. So let's start from what table should I look? Okay, I have made the table name as user. So select star from user 1. If I give this, yes, I have a table and it has an ID 57 and character name is Opal. Remember this, that this data entry is not automatic. I have made the data entry. Okay. Then, so what is the SQL for that? The SQL for that is stored somewhere. Let me show you the SQL. This is the SQL I did. Let's introduce one more record. And what I'll say is the ID is 58. Maybe the name is Ram. And I'm going to run this. Okay. Let's check the database now. Yes, I've introduced another record with ID as 58 and name as Ram. Now, last time we talked that we wrote a method to post the trade. Let's revisit that method. Now, we come here and we come to the post method. The post method is taking, it's built, it runs based on a URL that is trade, and it is a post method. It produces a JSON. It also takes a JSON, request body trade. At request body is an annotation. Okay, there are two annotations here, at request mapping and at request body. At request mapping simply says that I am mapping your HTTP request to a URL which will have /trade as a part of that. So whenever I hit a URL with /trade for my total URL, which is localhost :8000, I will be calling this method post trade. And what arguments does it take, this method? It takes the request body, that is HTTP request body, of the domain object trade. I call this as a domain object trade. Why it's called domain? Because it's related to business. Now, after I take this object, what do? I save it in the database using the repository APIs, JPA repositories, which has got a ready-made method for you. You made this possible how? With a very simple interface. Let's go back to this interface. Now you will understand why did I have this trade repository.java. By having this JPA repository, what are we doing? The JPA repository helps you to give the CRUD methods, that is update, create, and read. Let's go here. Have you seen this interface JPA repository? So it basically has these ready-made methods which you can use: find all, count, delete all, delete by ID, access by ID, find by ID, save, count, access, find all. So there is a save method also. You saw this, there is a save all, there is a save and flush. And it takes a type and an ID. That is what I gave. Type was my domain type trade object. And then I gave the identification to that. Save and flush. And there is a save method here. So I'm calling this save method to save the entity. There's a condition: entity must not be null, right? and it returns the saved entity, which never will be null. It throws an exception in case the entity is null. So let's come back. So that is the reason I added JPA repository. It's taking the entity of type trade, and it has ID which is of type long. Let's come back now and try to execute this from maybe Postman. Let's first make a JSON for this. Now, let's go back, see users, and Anil. Let's see this JSON. This JSON is having details of stock as well as trade. What I'm going to do is I'm going to this time let another user buy this. So I gave his identification, I gave his name. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to use curl to post command. You can use postman also, but I don't want to spend more time on showing how to use postman and all that stuff. I want to make it short. So what I'll do is I'm going to execute this trade. So Ram is going to buy stock, which is share in a market, is having symbol ADS. How much shares he's going to buy from the stock? 159. What is the price of each? 148. When he's going to buy on a particular date, 2014, 10, 10, 14, 13, 25. Now let's visit before I come here again to our method. Here, I just said that I'm going to make this possible by sending a JSON. But where do I say that my timestamp should go correctly in? Observe that the fields what I'm giving in JSON is different from the field what exactly I'm storing here. Are you observing that? Okay, let's go back. Let me minimize my Eclipse so that you can see what I'm telling. Let's go here. Let's go to trade repository. User.java. Let's go to the trade object. Okay, now you see this. The trade as an object, it has a type, it has a user, it has a stock symbol, but my JSON, I'm giving this as symbol. How do I match it? I'm giving shares, number of shares as 159, but here I'm giving a stock quantity. Oh, why did you, first of all, in the first place, why are you naming this as symbol and shares? Why you're not matching? Because that's the way requirement was given, right? Here comes additional work for me. Yes, it comes, but you can manage with, again, annotations. So one simple annotation JSON property symbol, I'm taking this as stock symbol as doing the mapping here. That means if I send the value of, you know, the stock ADS through the symbol name value pair, it is going to map to stock symbol, and it's going to store this as stock symbol. Now, this is the way I'm managing. This is the logic I put to match the JSON. But there is one more thing. How you're going to manage this one. User, yes, is a part. It has to be stored inside the stock, but it is an object. So how do I relate this object to stock? As I said, we used one annotation, that is many to one. And when we say many to one, when we associate, we need to queue the column by which we are associating. Also, to which column we are associating. So I said user ID is the one from the user table, which I'm associating with ID of trade table. Name refers always to your source of truth table, which it understands, Springboard understands, and a reference is your target, which is ID. This is the way I can send the JSON. So far so good. We understood the JSON, we understood the trade domain object, we understood the way we wrote the controller method to save this in the database. From the business functionality, what we are doing, we are recording that Ram has bought a stock with symbol ADS, and the number of quantities of the stock is 159. That's what it happens, right? Electronic registration of your stocks and trades. It started long back. I'm not going to go more deep into that because I need to talk first about product evolution. So what I'm going to do is that I am going to execute this. There we go. We got a return value as a JSON, and I expect this to be recorded inside my stock table. But before that, let's go here into our Spring and see what happened here. Wow, don't you see this? How comfortable. Hibernate generated a SQL for you. Guys, please pay attention here. Now what has happened? Hibernate has generated SQL for you. Let's take this. Are you seeing this query? It said update table trade one. Set the stock price, set the stock quantity, set the stock symbol, set the timestamp, set the type, set the user ID, set the ID. Let's revisit this. I wanted to show you one more thing. Timestamp. This is also important. It is not enough if I see JSON property timestamp to mom timestamp. I need to say the pattern or format and I'm storing inside the table. So after doing all these things, what I'm able to achieve is that I'm able to store the record. Let's go and see if the record is stored. Select star from trade one. There we go. The ID this time is 17 and the stock price is stored, and user ID is 15, which is Ram. So Ram bought this stock. He bought 159 shares at stock price of 148. The stock symbol was ADS. So just to recap whatever we talked about is that we wrote a method, we wrote a post method which could buy stock through the trading method for a user. What exactly the efforts we did for this? We wrote two objects. We wrote a controller. We wrote a post method. We used a repository methods to save. I'm sorry. Now, and we said that it's going to produce JSON, the output. Imagine if you were doing this without the help of Spring, without the help of annotations. I mean, without the help of Spring Boot, without the help of annotations. You were using Spring Framework and then you were using Java Pods. Imagine what all you had to do. You had to do a mapping of your POJOs to Hibernate. Imagine if you're not using the auto mode, right? Which we specified here. I'm going to revisit what I'm going to tell. Now you say this Hibernate DDL auto is equal to update. Imagine if you had not to do, you have to code the SQLs to update that. Yes, we have just completed the happy path here. I'm going to revisit what I said. We have just completed the happy path here. Let's go to what I was talking about. I was talking about these REST APIs. We wrote one of the methods. Now we have just returned this. We have just captured the basic functionality. But guys, do not lose the essence of product evolution until you complete your deliverable. You start losing the essence of product evolution until your completion of development, then you will not survive in the market. I'll tell you what I mean. Let's go here. And let's watch this. This guy is not just trained in martial arts. He's not just completing his functionality, but he's surviving here, right? Do you write code which will help you to survive? See this. He's going to survive every blow, but still survive in the field, survive in the market, right? Do you think in these terms? Is your function capable enough? Is your method capable enough to take all those hits when it goes to field? in reality, would somebody just give this much and say, I am okay? No. In reality, your method would be called through an UI. So, are you, first of all, satisfying, leave about the market, are you satisfying the UI developer first? So, when you do a testing, you write your test case, post a trade. Let's first name this test case. And then let's write test case description. Then result, expected result. Actual result. Now we come to a very important thing. Relevance. Relevance of what? Relevance of nearness to reality. What is reality? Reality is simply a use case which is in the actual field, right? How do people boast of their products? How do you say it's near to reality? So now what we're going to talk about is that if you run, this is a product, right? You see this. These products, how they are designed to survive in the field, right? They go in such a rough field, but still they survive. So relevance of nearness to reality is how they survive in the field. When you write these test cases, when you cover them, the question I ask is very important question is, is your test coverage? I'm not talking about code coverage. I'm talking about test coverage. Enough or having enough relevance. Relevance to actual field. This is the important question when you make product. This is where the sense of product evolution lies. This is where you will survive in the market. So I'm going to end this episode, not the total episodes, but only this episode. And we're going to talk further on what do I do to launch the product in the market. Well, how do I make sure that, the product which I was talking about, the final product which I was talking about, survives in the field? Please note that I am trying to influence your thinking here, not trying to teach your technology, but influence your thinking to make good products. So in the next episode, we will talk more about how do I connect all the stages like design, coding, testing, pushing your product to production. All these stages with product evolution. Once you are able to connect, once you are able to continue, then only your product becomes strong. Thank you guys. That's all for this episode.